Tuesday, the 8th of March 2005, a columnist of a national newspaper wrote a piece with the theme that crime fighters only parades poor men who steal but look the other way when it concerns rich men. The columnist said he was inspired to do the write-up from the lyrics of the latest work of a budding musician, African China, who ignorantly took a swipe at crime fighters for purportedly parading petty thieves and leaving out those he chose to call big men. These are issues for another day, as we have chosen to talk about a more serious matter, and that is corruption. This week on Crime Fighters, corruption, as we all know, is an orphan. Nobody, regardless of status in society, would voluntarily own up to being corrupt, except of course the person is caught red-handed with his hands in the till. Until recently, when President Olusegun Obasanjo began the campaign to arrest the nation's spinning fall into the very abyss of corruption, hardly did the issue attract attention, as corruption was seen as an abstraction that should never be mentioned or discussed. Over the years, the Nigeria Police Force has been branded as one of the most corrupt institutions in the country, rightly or wrongly, because of the high level of interaction between the police personnel and the public. The Police High Command, from the time of the country's first indigenous Inspector General of Police, Louis Edet, Kanselem MD Yusuf, Adamu Suleiman, Sunday Adewuse, Etim Eyang, Muhammadu Gambo, Ibrahim Atta, Ibrahim Kumasi, Musliu Smith, initiated several measures and instruments to curb corruption in the force. They all met with varying degrees of successes, but the cankerworm still persists. The 11th Indigenous Inspector General of Police, Tafa Adebayo Balogun, was not left out, as he came up with what he called the 11 ugly faces of corruption when he assumed office in March 2002, a policy trust meant to dissuade members of the Nigeria Police Force from corrupt tendencies. He described corruption as containing moral impurity and debasing integrity, as well as destroying fidelity. The former IGP said corruption violates public trust, corrodes social capital, brings odious reputation, destroys planning and development processes, and is the cause of the high costs of electoral politics. He said corruption is a serious crime. He therefore urged members of the Nigeria Police Force to shun corruption in its entirety. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Sunday Ehindero, has started fighting corruption in the Nigeria Police Force with the agenda of saving and protecting with integrity. Corruption, as we all know, is an individual thing. It is not institutionalized. Hence, the Nigeria Police Force has continued to fight the albatross from the inside. This has led to the dismissal, retirement, reduction in rank, denial of promotion, and transfer of police personnel across rank and file found to be corrupt. However, the retirement and the recent arrest of the immediate past Inspector General of Police Tafa Balogun by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission has almost rubbished the efforts of the force in the fight against corruption. This is the first time in the history of the Nigeria Police Force that the office of the Inspector General of Police is being brought to disrepute over alleged corruption. It is, however, comforting to note that the force is not really in corruption all over, else the former Inspector General of Police would not have been found out at all. It is on record that the Nigeria Police Force still has personnel who are prepared to carry on the crusade against corruption and who go about their duties without fear or favor, disregarding all manners of pecuniary influence thrown their way. If this were not so, we would not have officers from the Nigeria Police Force seconded to the Economic and Financial Crime Commission to take the bull by the horn by first investigating and arresting the former Inspector General of Police for alleged corrupt tendencies. Nuhu Ribadu, an Assistant Commissioner of Police, seconded to head the EFCC, and Ibrahim Larmode, also an Assistant Commissioner of Police and Director of Operations at the EFCC, are policemen as well as several other operatives in the commission. It therefore means that there are young men and women in the Nigeria Police Force who have all it takes to move Nigeria forward. There is no gainsaying that Nigeria Police Force is the mother of all security organizations in the country. The Nigeria Police Force gave birth to the former security organization, which transformed to the present State Security Services, SSS. Alhaji Bello Lafiyaji, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, was a police officer seconded to the State Security Services before his appointment as the Chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. It is also from the Nigeria Police Force that the NDLEA and the Federal Road Safety Commission, FRC, sprang up. Given the wherewithal, therefore, the police force still has what it takes to rise its head up high. That the former Inspector General of Police, Tafa Balogun, was found to be allegedly corrupt is not enough to tag the entire Nigeria Police Force as being corrupt. This is why Balogun is being made to face the consequences of his action and not the force as an organization. Perhaps Balogun's ordeal will serve as a deterrent to other police officers and indeed other Nigerians who see their rise to plumb positions in the force as an avenue to bend the rules to their favor as well as lord it over their subordinates. When they get to the top, they kick aside the ladder through which they made their ascent, forgetting that they will need one to descend, and in the absence of a ladder, sometimes they come crashing down in a mighty fall. Our clarion call on crime fighters this week is that officers should eschew corruption but employ all diligence in the discharge of their duties.